The video begins with how the alien ship flew up to Earth and Miss Marvel flew after them. Since the alien plane did not get in touch, Miss Marvel saw that it was the ship of those aliens and called all the Avengers. The ship landed somewhere in the forest and Miss Marvel was already with him. The ship opened and all the Avengers came out of it. Miss Marvel thought that these were aliens who could change their appearance. The Avengers told a story that they were abducted by aliens, but they were able to escape, and to confirm their words they provided several aliens. The Avengers also said that they were kept attached to the wall until the Hulk was able to get out and free them, but this was not true. It was aliens who simply took the form of the Avengers. Meanwhile, Tony Stark was in his mansion and tried to create his own development to search for extraterrestrial power, but he couldn't. Suddenly someone started making a hole in his wall. Tony tried to grab his helmet, but it was too late. It turns out it was Dr. Doom and he wanted to talk to Tony Stark. The fake Avengers persuaded Miss Marvel to join them. At the same time, Nick Fury was standing near the board on which pictures of superheroes were hung. He was trying to figure out who the aliens had already cloned. The fake Avengers came to Wakanda where they were met by a Black Panther. A clone of the Black Panther who was in the Avengers said that there was a fake Black Panther in front of them, and he said that he was real. Suddenly the Wakanda warriors came out of the grass and they were armed and they could fight back against the fake Avengers. Meanwhile, Tony Stark communicated with Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom gave him a key that could determine which Separator was a clone and who was the real one. At the same time, Fury was reviewing the recording on which Captain America persuaded the Hulk to surrender to the military. He gradually destroyed the team, and then the next recording on which the Avengers allies tried to persuade them to listen to them, as they wanted to tell about aliens who could turn into people, but Captain America gave the order to attack, which meant that the captain was an alien in the guise of Captain America. Meanwhile, the fake Avengers fought with the warriors of Wakanda. They tried to destroy the Black Panther so that he would not tell the whole truth about who they were, but the real Hawkeye and the Wasp arrived, and now they will have to catch the aliens. Tony Stark was in his mansion. He was embedding a chip into his suit that Dr. Doom gave him. Suddenly a Black Widow appeared from behind. She said that Fury was waiting for Stark to talk. Hawkeye fought with his clone and the Black Panther was now also fighting against the clone. Suddenly Thor was knocked out, and when he fell, he turned back into an alien. The real Miss Marvel saw it and immediately realized that the rest of the Avengers were not real. She began to destroy the rest of the clones, and now all the clones were defeated. Stark arrived to Fury, who was going to tell him that the Mockingbird was an alien, but suddenly someone shot at him. It was a Mockingbird. Tony said that he had a chip in his suit with which he could destroy it, but Tony did not know yet that Dr. Doom gave him a chip with a virus and his suit was hacked, and now he was badly electrocuted. It was a trap. Somewhere in space, a huge alien ship was already flying up. They wanted to take over the Earth and live on it themselves. At the same time, people were working somewhere on the Hydra base. One of the workers approached the Supreme Scientist and reported that if they launched modified satellites, they would destroy all people on the planet and no one would be saved. But the Hydra base would also be destroyed along with people. But the Supreme Scientist counted on it. He took out a gun and shot him, and then all the others. It turns out it was not the Supreme Scientist, but an alien who could turn into people. Meanwhile, 3 S.H.I.E.L.D. agents entered the S.H.I.E.L.D. ship. No one suspected anything since they were ordinary S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, but when they hacked the S.H.I.E.L.D.'s computers and intercepted control of the system, S.H.I.E.L.D. could not understand what was happening. She saw that they were not agents, but an alien who stole the appearance of agents. At the same time, somewhere in space, a portal opened from which the plane took off. A real Captain America was sitting in this plane, who escaped from the aliens, and he and other heroes flew to Earth. S.H.I.E.L.D. tried to report on the earphone that their ship was captured, but suddenly the alien shot her. But it turns out it was a robot that she created. She knew that there were traitors on the ship who were supposed to capture the ship, and for this she created a robot. Meanwhile, Fury and Iron Man were lying on the ground from impotence. Next to them was the alien queen who was trying to take over their world, and next to her was a timer on which time was running out. Suddenly time was over and all the stones were activated. It meant something bad. All military equipment and military moved out of the ship S.H.I.E.L.D. as it exploded. Part of the Avengers were also flying to stop the aliens, but suddenly someone blew up their plane and they fell into the water in the center of the city. They came out and a huge alien plane flew up to them from which villains with super strength flew out. They surrounded the Avengers and now they had to fight them. At the same time, Fury regained consciousness, but the alien queen was standing next to him, who was going to kill him. But S.H.I.E.L.D. ran into the building and did not let her do it. The Queen escaped and Tony and Fury were rescued. Hill reported that the aliens were taking over the world. Some of the Avengers lost to the aliens and the aliens captured them and delivered them to Captain America. They thought they were saved because Captain America could save them, but it turns out it was an alien who stole the captain's appearance, and the real captain was somewhere else. The captain was an alien. He ordered the alien to bring the operator, and he was brought in, and the operator turned on a live broadcast on which the alien in the captain's body addressed the people of the planet. The captain introduced himself as Captain America and said that Brothers in Mind had arrived on Earth and said that the aliens were not hostile. He said that their planet was on the verge of destruction and that the aliens would help them, but this was not true. This appeal was broadcast wherever possible, and all people saw this appeal. Meanwhile, Iron Man fainted from the fact that his reactor broke down, but Hill subdued him and he came to his senses. Now they had to save the planet. At the same time, some plane landed to the aliens from which a mockingbird came out. She was also an alien in the guise. The Avengers did not cease to be surprised by the traitors when suddenly they heard a familiar voice from behind. It was a real Captain America with a mockingbird, but it was still little compared to the aliens. Suddenly from the sky headed in the direction of the aliens, a powerful beam that hit the aliens. It was Iron Man, but even that was not enough, when suddenly, someone landed from the sky again. It was Thor, who arrived from Asgard. Thor damaged the alien ship with lightning and it fell into the water. The battle between the Avengers and the aliens began. Captain America began to fight with his clone. The aliens defeated the Avengers and Tony realized that the aliens were using satellites to attack all of humanity. Thor heard it and flew to destroy them. He destroyed the satellites with lightning. The real Captain America was able to defeat his clone, and Thor destroyed all the super aliens. The villains were destroyed and humanity was saved. The super aliens were locked up in the castles, and the Avengers were thinking what to do with them. The next day came and Iron Man and Captain America were standing next to the statue in honor of the captain and Bucky. Next to them were the police, who called them because people destroyed this statue because they believed that the captain was now a traitor. Tony came to J. Jonah Jameson because he published an article about Captain America being a traitor. Tony tried to explain that at that moment there was an alien in the guise of a captain, and not the real Captain America, but he didn't believe it. Then Tony offered to interview Captain America about aliens and how he did it involved. J. Jason singled out one girl and a photographer named Parker for them to interview. They arrived at the SHIELD base. Since the alien crashed the ship, now it was their temporary base near which there were always a lot of people who believed that Captain America was a traitor. From this base, the villains had to be taken to another base and Parker and the girl went to interview Captain America at this time while he was guarding the car with the villains. Suddenly the car in front blew up. It was done by a monster who was standing on the road. They wanted to pick up the villains. The girl noticed that Parker had disappeared somewhere while the captain was fighting monsters. The captain was captured and began to be tortured when Spider-Man suddenly appeared and helped to free the captain. Suddenly the road began to fail and the car, along with the captain and the spider, fell into the subway. The captain took the spider out of the wreckage and pulled the villains out of this car. They could not call for help because they did not catch the connection. The captain told the people to follow the spider and he would lead them out. But when they were walking through the tunnels, the spider's spider sense worked and he went to the captain to say that there was danger somewhere nearby. But suddenly the spider's instinct worked again and there was an explosion from which the spider barely managed to save the captain. The villain made an explosion together with his partners. The villains surrounded the people with superheroes and they could not do anything. Miss Viper said that if the captain freed her, the villains would not harm people, but the captain was not going to let her go. While he fought with Spider-Man against the villains, the SHIELD agent took people out of the subway. The captain and Spider coped with half of the villains and the captain ordered the Spider to go help people get out of the subway. Meanwhile, the villain stopped people and was going to destroy them, but the Spider arrived in time and stopped him. He pulled out his iron hands when suddenly the ceiling began to break off, but the Spider began to restrain him with his strength. The villains returned and were going to destroy everyone again. The captain was captured and Spider-Man could not do anything because he was holding the ceiling so that it would not fall off. Then people started throwing stones at the villains and the captain was able to get out, but it was too late. Spider could no longer restrain the ceiling and it was already supposed to collapse, when suddenly the ceiling began to rise by itself and he flew away. It turns out that Thor and Iron Man were there. They picked him up. The Spider fainted because it was very strong. The next day came and the newspapers wrote about the feat of the captain and the Spider. Now the captain's reputation was clean and he could continue to save the world. Dear friends, thank you for watching. If you liked this video, then like and subscribe to the channel. I'm waiting for you in the following videos, bro. I love you.